Hi, my name is Robert Kemp. We all have those artists and musicians that we love, that we really hold on to, that we really kind of define us. And it's normally first introduction is their first record. They're starting to say what they are. They're starting to make the music they're going to make their whole career. So there's obviously going to be problems. There's going to be songs that don't work. That's been understood because it's their first record. It's their first time out the gate. There's going to be problems. So you wait for that second record. And almost every modern artist now, with on their second record, they try to become weirder, odder, stranger. And they fail. But it's going to happen. They're trying to push the boundaries, and they go back and make their third record. Now, the third record is normally when they hit their peak. They start to be what they are. It's a solid record from A to Z, and you love it. The only problem with the third record is there's normally a fourth record, and a fifth record, and a sixth record. And that's when the problem is with studying musicians, because at that point, they're no longer building, they're no longer changing, they're no longer trying to grow. They're trying to get back to what they were. And there's only one musician I've ever heard or listened to that's really gone past that. His name is Tom Waits. He really strove to be different and change his career around. He started out as a folk artist, moved to a beatnik jazz player. And finally, the latter part of his career turned into this avant-garde composer. That's what he really decided to change. And to understand this more, we have to start at the beginning. When he began his career in 1971, he was enamored with Dylan, Bob Dylan, as most people were. It was the era of that. It was the folk era. It's when people really got entrenched in that. And he even wore the newsboy cap, kind of like set himself as being that. And his first record is what really kind of defines this period. It was called Closing Time. Closing Time was a record for him that you really thought he didn't quite sure what he wanted to be. And the real oddity that exists within this record is the fact that it's personal. It's not something Tom Waits is known for. He's known for his characters, his oddities. But Closing Time was an altogether different record for him because it seemed to come from his heart. Songs like I Don't Want to Fall in Love With You is a prime example of that because despite being known as a piano player, he played acoustic guitar on it. He sang this song about a man afraid to make a commitment, something that didn't really show up in those records later on. And that all changed, though, as he was the second part of his career, when he became obsessed with the beatniks. Kerouac, Ginsberg, the whole idea of roaming across the country, living this seedy life between the law and normality. The best way to describe this is a song called Christmas Card from the Hooker in Minneapolis. It was off the record Blue Valentine. This song, he sings from the point of view of a woman, simply writing a letter to an old lover, her maybe even an old ex-addict, saying about how her life is good now. She's got it together. She has a man that loves her, she's pregnant. It's not his child, but he loves one of the things that raised like his own, and then Tom Waits throws the twist that he was ever so known for. That towards the end of the song, you find out it was actually from a woman locked up in jail. He makes allusions to the fact that she's locked up for drug dealing or possession. And that's really what he was about, was giving these lowlifes, these seedy characters, a three-dimensional space to live in. They weren't cautionary tales. They weren't woe is me characters. He gave this woman hopes, a dream, heart, that's missing from some of those characterizations of these people. And he went so far as to even try to live like these people. Went on tour, he went to stay at the nice hotels, he would purposely go to the dingier parts of town to try to sink into this culture and drink it up. This, of course, though, was something that would stick with him and kind of define his image from what most people remember as Tom Waits. But the thing that would be the biggest shift for him is when he went to go do a score for a movie called One from the Heart by Francis Ford Coppola. He met his soon-to-be wife, Catherine Brennan. Here's the oddity of Tom Waits really sinks in, because when he met Catherine Brennan, she dragged him out. He quit drinking, he quit smoking, he quit drug use, he became a respectable citizen. His life became this person that was normal. He went to work, he came home. And despite this, he somehow or other became an odd, avant-garde musician. As he became saner, his music became crazier. This first record was Swordfish Trombones, all one word, a little pretentious, but still, it was a great record because of the fact that he shrugged off his jazz persona. He got rid of the horns, he got rid of the big, giant horn arrangements, and focused on odd rhythms, embracing things like Kurt Weill, which is avant-garde German composer who did Mac the Knife. Not the Mac the Knife you hear coming out of Singing Fish. No, this was more of a murder ballad. He really started into this whole era of music by really starting to incorporate things like odd rhythms and marimbas, and really dealing with bare minimum music. His characterizations left the seating and went on to these odd, eccentric characters. prime example of this is a song called Shore Leave, which the main instrumentation is just simply a marimba. Not really what you would build a song around, but he did nonetheless. It's about this man on leave in Singapore and the oddity of the life of being a sailor. That's what he got sunk into. This was just one part of his trilogy called the Frank Trilogy. The second record was Rain Dogs. Rain Dogs, most critics feel, didn't really feel upon surface trombones, but I would have to disagree because simply he embraced songwriting at a higher level. He started advancing melodies, these odd rhythms, these odd concepts. In fact, he went so far as that Rod Stewart covered one of his songs called Downtown Train. If you know Rod Stewart and you know Tom Waits, that doesn't make sense. Rod Stewart is this velvety, smooth crooner, Tom Waits is this ruffian. But still, that just goes to show the level of songwriting within these odd concepts that they can be turned into a huge hit song. His last record in this thing is called Frank's Wild Years. This is a very specific record, an important record for Tom Waits, simply because it started to expose him into writing scores for musicals. Something that's not really what you would imagine a top 40 or a modern rock musician to do. He became enamored with this world. Going on to write musicals for Robert Wilson, which is an avant-garde German playwright. He wrote The Black Rider, and he goes so far as to write records for Blood Money, a play that he did, and Alice. Now, doesn't seem that odd in the sense that you get to know his music more, but still, it's a great leap to take to say, I'm not going to put out the record you expect, I'm going to do something I love instead. And all this work and all this oddity really paid off in 2000 when he released Mule Variations. Now, this is not part. He's 30 years into his career. At this point, he should have his set group of fans, his set record sales he gets every time. At this point, he's on his 10th record. But instead, he releases this record that goes on to win a Grammy and become his highest-selling record of all time, 30 years into his career. That's just the oddity of Tom Waits. As he grew saner, as he grew calmer, his music became wilder, it became crazier. As he grew older, he grew more youthful. His youthful fan base exploded in the 2000s. That's when people my age, 18, 16, 26, these people start latching on this music 30 years into his career. That's just because Tom Waits knew what it took to do music right, how to make grace. Thank you very much for your time.